You are listening to We All Go Forward podcast. During the course of today's episode, we will be discussing events that may be disturbing, traumatizing, and emotionally challenging for some listeners. Listener discretion advised.
You're listening to We All Go Forward, a podcast on self-leadership through setbacks. With ownership, action, and growth, be set back, only to be catapulted forward into a more progressed, truer you.
Hey guys, and welcome back to We All Go Forward podcast. I have missed you guys tremendously. Today, I can't even hold you. We just got to get right into this. You are in for a special, powerful episode. I assure you, well, first I'll assure you, you may need tissues for this episode. I know I did. However, this is a story of triumph, and I really mean that. You will feel it by the end. You will understand why it is exactly that I love this woman. And guess what? This is just part one of the story. So if you decide to tune in, this is what I want you to know. You will hear some things, in particular, how a child's life can change so quickly, how there can be much pain. But if anything speaks to the theme of this podcast, where you can take the most painful, most gruesome, most unjust aspects of life and turn it into something completely different, then this is it. And I also want you to know that you'll hear a word that's extremely important. Dr. Joe references the word adaptability a lot, and I can't explain how important that is. Adaptability is necessary when there's changes in environments and in circumstances, and you fill in the blank. But you'll see how she adapts. You'll see how she takes the reins of her life literally and how she forges forward. And we're definitely going to carry that with us. So I can't do any justice to this woman's introduction. Also, I want to say Dr. Johanne is a woman after my own heart. So mostly towards the end, but we definitely are two peas in a pod, in that sometimes you just laugh at your trauma. The trauma is not funny, but you kind of have to use humor sometimes just to get through. And there's a little bit of that, but I think those who understand, who are cut from the same cloth, you will definitely get it. But this is one for the books. All right, everyone. So we are here with the one and the only Dr. Johanne Lewis. Dr. Joe, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Kim. I am just so in love with you. You know that. So whenever you ask, I'm there. Okay.
Oh, I appreciate it. So for listeners, there's been a few times that I've actually referenced this lady, but y'all just didn't know that because that's not, that just wasn't for y'all to know. But when I talk about, like, sometimes when I mention one of my mentors or someone who's just straight up honest with me, with the world, really, I'm talking about Dr. Joe. Yes. She is so many things. But for me personally, like I said, outside of her being a mentor, she's definitely been someone who has claimed me as her daughter, one of her daughters. Yes. And I claim her as definitely a second mom to me. But we're just going to get into this conversation. As I said, Dr. Joe, I really just wanted to speak about your story, your resilience, and your legacy. I kind of call you the queen of pivot. And
you got to tell me more about that.
I will.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So when I formulated the questions and what I had in mind, just inviting you here, I found this quote and I said, yes, this is where I'm going with it. So it's a Joseph Campbell quote. And it says, we must be willing to let go of the life we plan so as to have the life that is waiting for us. Yeah. So why don't you start off by telling the people about yourself? When people hear Dr. Johanne Lewis, who are you?
Oh, wow. That's a big first question. But basically, Kim, I'm a servant. Okay. And that's what I have been, a servant all of my life, even when I was a child. And I know people like to talk about titles and what they've accomplished and all of that. But for me, my biggest title that anyone can ever call me is a servant. Someone who can just help others or motivate others, just with whatever talent that God has provided to me, just using that to help others. So, and on top of that, being a
Yes.
servant. I am a right now. My role is a thoracic, surgery nurse practitioner. And I am a family nurse practitioner. I am a doctor of nursing practice. I've been a nurse for, my goodness, 34 years now.
Even though you look about
35.
25, but continue.
Ah, lies. But but anyway, so basically started off as a staff nurse, and each part of the way just went back to school, became a family nurse practitioner, and then went back and obtained my doctorate. And I worked at Penn most of my career, but then transitioned to the VA, and now I'm working with the wonderful vets. I've been an educator. I've taught at several universities, including Penn and Villanova, and just all over the place. I can't even keep count right now. Uh, Currently, I stopped teaching. I'm just really focused on clinical work and my foundation. I'm also the CEO and founder of the Dr. Johanne Lewis Foundation, which is a nonprofit that it just makes my heart happy that you had a chance to be part of, and you
Yes.
honored me with your service to the foundation, and I appreciate that. And now I have your lovely sister with me.
Yeah.
So I just love the whole family. And,
Oh,
I just want you all to know that. And so we have been doing a lot of great work, not only in the United States, but in Haiti. We actually have a school in Haiti, in Sabar, which is, just a chaotic place right now. So the kids
yeah.
haven't been to school in over a month or so. But we paid right now we're up to 52 students that we're paying tuition for, and we're feeding the entire school. So that's, the professional, the servant. But I'm also a wife to Monsieur Joël Léon.
Yes.
Um, and I'm a mother of four biological children, and many stepchildren. I also am, I hate to say this because I know this is going to air, but my greatest joy, legacy, accomplishment is being the grandmother
We already
to,
know how the grandparents
oh
get.
my
It's like a
God.
switch goes off. And Dr. Joe, I never see you post nobody. Like you
No,
post these,
oh
I
my
mean,
God,
every day.
every day.
And they so cute. They're
They
so
are
cute.
so cute. Oh, I love them. Oh my goodness. And I just thank God every day that I had the opportunity, that He graced me with these bonus years that I can actually see my grandchildren. And they are the greatest joy of my life. After that comes my kids, of course. But,
The kids, you got bumped. You got bumped, y'all. I just want y'all to know. I'm sure they know,
exactly.
but yeah.
Yeah, and not only, biological grandchildren, but I do have some grandchildren who are my step grandchildren, but I call them my, just grandchildren. And I actually have one living here with me also, and one of my husband's daughters living here with me right now. So it's just a great joy. It's just
Wow.
so wonderful.
First of all, I like how you say, well, first of all, it's always the people who got the resume that's they could work. The president today could hire you, who's like, well, I'm just a servant. But that's such a
I
strong word. It is, but your resume speaks for itself. Let's just say that. About a round of applause right there. But what I really heard is like a lot of times my pastor, he says it's not just one thing we'll do, but there are things that we'll do.
Mhm.
What I heard and everything that you just expressed is a very balanced picture of all the things, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you this is just describing who you are and all the places that you're putting your effort. And so I think that just speaks to even that quote that I just mentioned, that there's a life that's waiting for us, and you are definitely living it. And this is why we have you on a podcast today. And I love that for you. So I want
I
to.
love you.
Oh, you're
I
so
really
sweet.
do.
This whole podcast today, guys, will be just Dr. Joe telling me she loves me, because this is why I brought
That's
her
it.
on. Yeah.
And
I
that's
needed
the
some
truth.
love. Yes, and I love you right back. So I want to get into your story. We're going to start a little bit with your childhood, just a little bit in every segment. But you know, how old were you? You're not from America, just in case the listeners don't know that. You
Right.
were born in Haiti.
Haiti. Mhm.
Yep. So how old were you when you came to the US?
So I came to the US at the age of 7. I came, I remember the date because I had, I didn't know my, well, I didn't know my mom.
Yeah.
And so the person that I knew as my mom was in Haiti. And I remember this Indian lady taking my sister and I to the airport. And we boarded, a plane, and we met this woman. My sister knew who she was because she had come to Haiti to visit us. But I just didn't remember because I was so young. And she introduced us our mother, and life began at the age of 7 in New York. So,
Wow.
yeah, and that was August 14th, 1975, actually.
Someone who's listening and they're saying, how did you not know who your mom was at that
Um,
age?
I didn't know because she had me. Okay, so I was born in 1968, and she came to the United States in 1969.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming I spent some time with her during those few months that after I was born. My sister, like I said, had recollection of her, but I just didn't know who she was. And I
Right.
also didn't know who my father was. I actually didn't meet my father until I was 8. And I met him because once we moved, so let me back up, okay?
Yeah.
Let me just start from the beginning so that you can get an
Absolutely. We're here
idea.
for it. Yeah.
Because I think once, if you follow the timeline, you'll understand a lot, um, that went on in the life that translated to who I can be today.
Hmm.
So I can't say the 4-letter word, but um, I was actually a product of unwanted,
Yeah.
unsolicited, unreciprocated intercourse.
Yes.
So the way that my mother explains it, she doesn't understand that what it is an actual 4-letter word that she doesn't want
Hmm.
me to ever say. But
Okay.
her and my dad were separated after the birth of my sister, and they were separated for months. And then he showed up one day. She didn't see
Hmm.
him at first, and that was it. So then she didn't see him again.
Yeah.
So and so I didn't see him, but I think the story is that I did spend some time as a baby at his mother's house, and he passed by there and he saw us. But that would explain why I lacked a connection to him like my whole life. But anyway,
Right.
so then so I was born, and a few months later or a year later, my mother actually left and came to the United States. So her and my dad had been separated ever since, like I said, my sister was born in 66. So when she came up here, I guess they had no communication. But then when we got up here, somehow they reconnected
Okay.
the year like after we got up here. So they actually tried to reconcile and ended
Mm.
up living in a home. When we lived in Brooklyn, we all lived for a few months together,
Together. Okay.
as a family. And then
I actually did not know the circumstances to your mom you being conceived.
yeah.
And yeah, you said something that I'm going to pin that, like that it plays into even into how you live your life out today.
Mhm.
But very early on your mom had to make a decision, like a lot of immigrant parents, or just a lot of, and it not just immigrant parents, but parents have to sometimes make hard choices in order to create a what they feel might be a better life for their child. And so
Mhm.
as a result, you grew up without knowing who your mom was, without memory, recollection of who
Right.
she was. And so when your introduction into this country was one meeting this person who's somebody's like, this is mom.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And which not the same. I won't go down that rabbit hole. I was like, I can relate to in terms of I can remember the first time I met my father, but my memory of it. But and also within that, you now meet your father at some point too, of you being in this new country. So I have so many questions, without trying to, force you into this topic too long. But what does that, did you hear all those stories growing up, like before moving to America? Did you know the circumstances,
No,
around? Okay.
I
Okay.
just actually found out the circumstance. You mean around my conception?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just actually found out a little while. And actually, the story came out as a matter of fact. It wasn't like, oh, let me tell you
Yeah.
about this. It was because I was just asking her just a few questions because
Yeah.
I really don't know too much about my family, And what brought this up was that I met a sister of mine who's my father's daughter like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow.
so she's now 50 or 51. I have a brother on my father's side who's actually my age, and a brother on my father's side who's actually my sister's age.
Mm.
So that we're taken care of in Haiti.
Yeah.
Um, and my other brother lives in Boston. And then from my mother's side, I have two biological brothers also. So it's like a hodgepodge mix.
Yeah.
But I was just asking a few questions when I actually met this sister of mine from my father's side, and then I started getting into the, well, mom, it just seemed like he was just never like really into me. He favored my
Mm.
sister a lot, and we're just
Mm.
having a conversation. And she's like, well, I don't know why that is. And anyway, he, he well, my sister, okay, let me
Yeah.
back up. My sister actually is the first one when we were kids that basically put doubt in my head about my dad, because she was mad at me, and she was like,
Yeah. Let me tell you, them older sisters.
I know, right?
Listen,
Aren't they horrible?
listen to Sabine, one of my older sisters. If you're listening, no, I'm kidding. I always mess with Sabine about that because she done told me I was a boy. She told me I was
Yeah,
adopted. They'll tell you some things. These
they will
older
tell you
sisters, even
something
though they love you, I love her so much. But
and
both my
deny it later on.
yes,
But
yes, they forgot. Oh, did I cause you some trauma? My bad.
exactly.
Yeah,
My bad. So
yes.
she would say different things, and then when I told you my father, when he came back into the picture, like he wrote my sister's name on his car. He
Mm-hmm.
had a checking account with her name on it, and I'm sitting back, and so I started asking my mom all these questions, and then she's like, "Well, you are your father's child. Actually, this is the way that it happened." And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what?
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't asked those questions, because
Right.
now I'm like, dang, okay.
Wow.
And you never saw him again after that. So of course, maybe he had some doubt,
Mm-hmm.
um, if I was his or not, because you know how it happened, but maybe the way that it happened, he's like, well, I never saw her,
Right.
and maybe he
So
was,
real.
it's just interesting how stories come out. Uh,
Yeah.
we had like an interview session with my mom where I sat down and asked her all these questions, and I have it actually recorded just so that I could get some idea, like what's up. Like
So hearing that in
yeah,
your old, like older age, did that
yeah.
take you back like to that place? Did that start to make things make sense? Or did it open up a wound potentially that you didn't know was there?
Yeah. So when she told me this, I was in the midst of writing my book, and
Mhm.
Unplanned actually is the title of the book.
Wow.
And it froze me. Like I
Wow.
stopped right there, and I haven't been able to touch it since. And
Really?
oh yeah, I'm actually like it really affected me because it made everything make so much sense that it hurt,
Oh.
you know? And so dealing with that and having to work through that, when people talk about trauma, well, that if I
Hmm.
can, like I, and I'm sure you're going to get into all this because you are Mrs. Kimberly Dimmerstein, because you of something that I put on Facebook. But when we talk about trauma, and I've
Mm.
been all kinds of things, Kim. I've been
Yeah.
molested. I'm a teenage mother. I'm everything. But this right there, sort of, I don't
Wow.
know, it attacked my identity.
Yeah. Oh, all the places we're going, but you're literally saying, here you are, this mature, accomplished woman, and you're saying that throughout my life, I've gone through several, if we're going to use that word, setbacks, and yet learning this aspect of my conception and potentially even all the questions, like you said, that it may raise up in your head in regards to your father and how he approach your relationship with him, that rocked you to your core so much as to question your identity, that your book called Unplanned, which I love, and it defines you. And here's another aspect of the unplanned, but yet this goes to the core of you being unplanned. So yeah. Okay. All right. So I want to just get into a little bit more things. So just to kind of like paint a picture as we transition into like other things that happen once you kind of move to the US. What was life like growing up in Haiti before knowing all this? Because you did say you didn't know any of this.
Right.
So before learning all this, yes, you didn't have your mother, but you thought someone else was your mother at the time because this person was taking care of you. And what was girl Johanne? What were her dreams? What were her aspirations? And what was life growing up in Haiti? Because I think sometimes, especially for people who are not Haitian, obviously listeners, we get, these things, and times have changed, but we might only have this one view of why people come to America or what life was like before they came. So tell us a little bit about girl Johanne. What were her dreams and aspirations?
So the girl Johanne loved her life in Haiti. When I say loved, I loved my life in Haiti. I loved I love my mom now, but I loved the person who I thought was my mother. Okay. I loved my grandfather because every summer we would go vacation in a place called La Sus Chaude, where he was the judge, and basically he owned all the land there, basically. I loved just so many things. I love this human being who passed away just a few years ago. Her name is Eliana. And I loved her because we were growing up together. And then, I'm telling you, Kim, then I find out a few years ago that she was actually my maid. I loved my life, but every time I learn something, it brings back a scenario that happened that triggers me, because I remember playing with her and I got a beating from my grandfather.
Wow.
But I didn't know why I was getting the beating. He never explained to me why I was getting the beating. But once I learned from my sister that she was actually our maid, then I realized I wasn't supposed to be playing with her, because he never explained why, he beat me. So I was like, Margie, remember when Grandpa, because you weren't supposed to be playing with her. Like, he had me kneeling down in the hot sun on the gravel, like all kinds of nonsense.
Yeah.
But because in Haiti, they don't explain anything to you, it's baton.
Yeah. And I tell the listeners, they learn a Creole word every episode. Baton means beating. Yeah. So, and for people who are wondering, like, what Haiti? What I hear, and she had a maid.
Well, I call it a maid because that's the gentle term to use. But in Haiti back then, they were called restavek, and they were children of poor people, and the poor people basically gave them up in servitude. Okay. Wow. And so a lot of these children, a way to be able to eat on a daily basis is to be caretakers of other kids, probably almost the same age as them, and taking care of the house and running to the market and all of that. So, there are people who had formal maids that got paid, but some of these, it's an equivalent to an indentured servant, sort of, and it broke my heart. Like when I learned that, because she was like my best friend and my sister, and if of course I didn't know anything. I was only a kid. And when I left Haiti, I was 7. So, but I got a chance to reconnect with her as an adult. My sister made that happen for me, and I was able to help provide some funds for her, before she passed.
I'm hearing what you're saying. And I just know that this has probably played a role into you and the JLF Foundation and everything it is that you do when it comes to you being a servant. So you grew up in Haiti. Life in Haiti was beautiful,
Beautiful.
like family, what you knew, both were actual family and who you knew to be family.
Doors open,
Yes,
just beautiful. Just
yes,
beautiful weather, just going to school,
yeah,
just friends playing outside, just beautiful.
yeah. You come to America and you said you're about 6 or 7 years old, and now you're here in this new country. What were your original thoughts like? Do you remember what you thought when you first got off that plane and you
Oh,
came to this
terrified.
place?
Oh my God, terrified. I
Yeah,
was terrified. Didn't know the language. I didn't know a word of English. Okay.
yeah,
My sister didn't know a word of English. I'm meeting my mom for the first time.
hmm,
Everything looked foreign and strange. It looked nothing like Haiti, these buildings, just the most terrifying state you can ever imagine. And I was a scaredy cat to begin with. My sister was more bold and,
yes,
outspoken. So I really stayed quiet for the most part
hmm,
because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to address her. I didn't know what to do. There was nothing comfortable about the situation. And
yeah,
then we had to start school like that
yeah.
September. We came that August. We started school this September, not knowing a word of English.
Wow.
So all these kids were making fun of us, calling us Haitian booty scratcher. I don't know where that term came from, child, but they were calling us Haitian booty scratchers.
Yes,
I
the
remember that.
Haitians understand. Yes.
Yes, traumatizing. But what was great, I guess, about the schools in New York at the time is that they had ESL, English as a
Yeah.
second language, and we had the little headphones and an RCA program, reading comprehension, and we just started learning English. The first word we always learned because that's the word that the kids always teach all the foreigners.
Yeah.
So we came
Curse
home
words.
talking that
Ah.
mess. Yes. And
So
we got our first meeting.
this right. This is how I know I was well behaved because I understand this from the other aspect because naturally when my elementary school, I remember like it was yesterday, both my sisters went to the same school before me, but Stephanie and Sabine always were in school together because they
Mhm.
have like a 2 year difference. But for me, from Sabine to me, there's a 4 year difference. From Steph to me is a 6 year difference. So
Oh, I
I
didn't
was
know that.
always at school by myself.
Mhm.
But and I mostly went to different schools from them, but elementary school we all went to the same. And once they saw that last name, they knew, oh, here
He's like,
comes
here goes
another one.
another.
But I was also like very studious kid. So they knew we were Haitian and knew we were Haitian American. So when I say I could not even run from that ESL program, they'd be like, Kim, you want to come and translate and help the
It's,
students in ESL? And I would be like, so that was my life. Okay. I was working a full-time job, didn't even
oh
know it.
my
Okay. I would be
God.
in class and then next I'm an ESL translator. But you know what? Those are some of the best memories.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say I have great memories when I at the time, even though I did it with joy, but I was always kind of a kid that was a little most maybe came off shy, even though I wasn't. I was
Mhm.
always nervous about things. Like I just didn't like why you guys keep asking me to help? Like maybe I'm not doing a good job, but I just
Mhm.
think about like some of the even just some of the people that I even have, like you said, have chances in this day and age to run into them on Facebook or on social media and to see how they're doing. And it's like, wow, I remember you. Like, or they just like, I remember how you helped me and how you would translate. And
Oh,
it's
that's
really
so
cool.
nice.
Yeah, it's really cool to have that full circle moment.
Yes.
So you're in the United States. You're like, this is ghetto compared to what life was in
What
Haiti.
Haiti.
Yes, yeah. Because you were like, live it up. You living it up like John Legend said in Haiti.
Because
Okay.
it was beautiful back then.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I hear stories like that and I'm not gonna lie, I get jealous, but I'm gonna move not in a bad way, but just like I wish this is what
Yeah.
I want to see or experience for myself, like just to see what my parents experienced and for my kids too as well. But all right, I'll say you got here, you're going through school, and you're going now in high school at this point, and
Mhm.
you hit a big life event.
So prior to that, Kim, I do want to go back
Yes, please.
because people won't understand how events in your life can affect what happens to you. But living in New York, like we moved about 5, 6 times, within like 3 mile radius. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were inappropriately touched and just all kinds of weird molestation stuff. So that, on top of being a foreigner in the country, being molested, expressing that you're being molested, now we're moving from New York. This is middle school. We're moving from New York to New Jersey. So, and just to clarify, even though there was no penetration involved, but there was enough molestation going on, that it was molestation, but just without penetration. Okay, so
And
he
was
was
this
smart enough.
without me maybe speaking to someone else's story, because I know this is, I want you to focus on, you know, naturally you can tell
Mhm.
your story the best. Was it solely you or was it you and your sister?
Both, but mostly me. But it
Wow.
started off with both. But what happened was, remember, we have to go back to my father now. So my
Mm-hmm.
sister was misbehaving. So my mother called my father to pick her up. So my sister had a chance to be out of the house for a while. And so then when we moved to, and then she returned. Um, then we moved to New Jersey. But when we moved to New Jersey, she was misbehaving again. So that's when she was shipped off to Philadelphia.
Wow.
So then I stayed back. And so, the inappropriate, it became like more just inappropriate touching every time you pass by, the hand would be on the butt, that sort of thing. And then I started, so I started ninth grade at this point. And at ninth grade, I just had about enough. And I called my sister, and she came down and she threatened his life. So that stopped completely there. She threatened his life
Wow.
with the fact that she was going to tell my father, and, my father was going to take care of him or whatever. But, I don't know if that was going to happen or not, but whatever, that stopped there. So fast forward, because I know this is only an hour. So fast
No, this
forward.
is I wanted to say, and please don't lose your frame of thought, but it's just so many areas in here. Like, so okay, this is why I wanted to have this conversation starting with you, because there are a lot of places we can go in this topic of self-leadership through setbacks. And I've shared this before on different episodes. I hate calling certain things setbacks, because I feel like that's just not a good enough, quote unquote, good enough or strong enough word to describe what people go through in some scenarios. And I'm listening to you saying like your sister misbehaved. So that was kind of like a saving grace to get her
Yeah.
out the house. Do you
Mhm.
start to feel that, I'm now I'm thinking about myself, like how my mind works. But then I feel like I have to ask people these questions. Do you start to feel like, good girls finish last? Like, do you start to feel punished? Do you make that correlation at all? Like, maybe I should have acted up. Maybe I should have done something to get me kicked out, because trying to just behaving is keeping me in this situation.
You
Just
know,
being a good girl, just staying here.
that's a good thought, Kim. But at the time, I can't, and of course, I'm always honest. I can't say that
Yeah.
that's what was going through my mind. Because it became normalized. Do you
Wow.
understand? So it was
Yep.
just an everyday living thing, I passed by, his hand would be on my butt, and it was like just normalized at that
Did you
point. But
know that this feels wrong?
oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So then start high school, and we were we moved from Newark to East Orange. So you can see too that we were never like in a stable place. So we moved from Newark to East Orange, and I was at the wonderful Science High School, just the most memorable place. Uh, I was very studious. I was very driven. I was very
Mm-hmm.
competitive. Um, so that's when I started putting a goal in my head, because most of us, the 1%, the top 1%, we were going to be either doctors or lawyers. So we were
Mm-hmm.
always competing with one another. Very just wonderful group of students that we just wanted to excel. The goal was to become a medical doctor. So I had already planned I was going to go to Cornell. In the midst of that, though, while we lived in East Orange, we were going to Church of God of East Orange. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was with a group of very wonderful youth, but we started having conversations amongst each other. And one time, I think we went away to a convention, and one of the girls who was talking about how both her and her mother was sleeping with our pastor. And
Wow.
then another girl popped up and said, Oh, well, how come he's doing that to you? He's doing that to me. And then
No.
another girl popped up. Now, this wasn't being done to me yet.
Oh my gosh.
So, but guess what happened, Kim?
What?
I started getting jealous that this that
What?
he was yes that he was paying attention, and this is very like this is the mind frame of when you've been groomed. Okay, so what is wrong with me that he's doing that to all of them but he wasn't touching me? So I had that moment there, and I had to share that because as I got older and started thinking about how I was feeling back then, it wasn't just about fear or that he was going to do. I actually was jealous at that point when they were talking about it. Oh, he's doing that to all of them, so something must be wrong with me that he's not doing that to me. But then I started learning more, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be in this church. I don't want to be around this person. And as I got to that point in my mind where I started saying that, he called for me.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
told my mom that I didn't want to go. Now, mind you, we were sister brother churches with Church of God of Philadelphia. So we would always come to Philadelphia. I don't know if you all ever came to Sarge, but I remember coming to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I
So
remember. I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, so my sister knew the pastor and all of that. So that's how I started reconnected with my sister because we would visit the church down here, and I would come and see her. And so when he called for me, I told my mom, I said, I don't want to go. But my mother didn't know why I didn't want to go. So I remember going to his house. His wife was upstairs. He had a little girl at the time. She was upstairs. And the first thing that he did was put his hands on my breast and started touching me, you
Oh
know,
my
and
gosh.
it made me feel so yucky and disgusted. And thank God that that's all that happened at that time. But that was the start of it. This was our pastor. Like, and what made it so bad was that we all like knew the Bible. Like we would recite the Bible. We got all these Church of God awards. The youth, we were a banging youth. But what I don't know if they knew, I don't know exactly because once I tell you this, they must have known what was going on with him
Yep.
because so that happened, and then it just like started progressing slowly. Like I think that was like his test trial,
Yep. Of
and
course.
I would tell him, no, I don't want to do that. But then all the other girls would come back and we're talking about it, and I'm like, oh, well, I knew it was wrong. I knew it was
Yeah.
wrong, but I continued on anyway, you know um and he
Wait, why do you say you knew it was wrong? Because this is where the mama bear in me comes out.
Yeah.
And I have uh um I, I'll say I started to shake when you said I felt jealous. And
Hmm.
I'm hearing you say that I continued on.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I know somewhere someone will hear what you're saying and they'll say, see, these young girls, sometimes they know or they want it or they this and they'll make
Yeah.
excuses for
These
people who are in a
molesters, right?
position of power,
Yeah.
people who are older, people who, like you said, groom, people who know they are literally targeting um populations and certain types of people, and I won't even begin to talk about culturally how within, and it's not to, we're not slandering our culture, is every culture has their thing, but culturally there's definitely when you mix in especially that toxic religion aspect and
Yeah.
this unfounded ungrounded respect for people who have certain titles, and how solely because of he's a this
But
you
but
have
let
to
me let
go.
me pause you a second because
Yeah.
you made a very good point. But I wanted to say that because when you belong to a cult, so this was a cult,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
So when you belong to a cult, you want to be part of the special group of people. So in my mind, child, I'm a grown up now.
Yeah.
I can like say, oh my God, this was so wrong. He did this. That's why I call it, molestation
Yeah.
now. But I'm talking about when I was a kid, the
Absolutely.
fact
I
that,
thought that statement was so powerful.
yeah,
I think that it was so honest and I could see why you felt that way.
a lot of people won't be able to understand it because no one has ever said that before. But if you're ever part of and I call it a cult because it's a group of people that are being dominated by this powerful person. He was a very powerful
Mm.
person, okay? And so and the fact that he was showing attention to some, and
Yep.
before he starts showing the attention, because he was not only sleeping with the daughter, he was sleeping with the mother. Like this
Wow.
was like going on, so much. And I just want to say that it escalated because it was tolerated.
Yep.
So he would pick who he wanted to drive down to Philadelphia with, and along the way he would do his thing. And as a child, you're thinking that you're special because
Wow.
this person is choosing you, and he's doing this to you. So you're thinking that you're just special, and especially being from a broken
Mm-hmm.
home, not having a father, you don't know what that feels like, you don't know what that is. This just became like a norm to you, okay, to me,
Yeah.
okay, and until so that occurred, and then um I don't know if for whatever reason I started rebelling and not wanting to go to church because it was like driving me
I
crazy, like
wonder
all this,
why. Yeah.
on and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I stopped going to church for a while. And then so now let's jump to when I'm my junior year in high school. So I meet this boy uh while working at Burger King. And we started liking each other, but he was from out of state. He lived in upstate New York. I actually lied to my mother, took a bus all the way to upstate New York, and that's when I got knocked up. So I was a junior in high school, but all of that, what happened to me, set all of that into play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's like no one really, and I was a caretaker for the home, like I was taking care of my brother. So I was really living like this sort of non-existent life, but
Wow.
where I found my grace was in school. So the teachers loved me. I had great friends. I had a best friend. But now here I go, popped up pregnant. I pop up pregnant, and my favorite teacher was so disgusted and disappointed in me. And when my mother started pressuring me to the point of physical abuse to get married, I decided to do so because I wanted to redeem some respect from my teachers, you
Okay,
know.
so you are going into this, and this is what I love about these conversations. But I feel like on account of just the listeners, there's certain things that I just want to pinpoint up until now. I wish I could just hug the girl version of you. And so I just wanted to ask you, what would you say to people who would take such a small view to someone who's like, okay, well, sometimes these young girls, they know what they're getting into and they know what they're doing. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, so when you're a child, you're at the mercy of adults who are supposed to be in a position to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
And they are in a position of leadership. They know the word and they use the word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They use the word to make you do what they want you to do. So we were supposed to love him. Okay. And so the love came in whatever way that he felt, where he deemed necessary for it to come. Now, I'm sharing this because I know that there are some girls in the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
One out of every four girls are being molested or abused as we speak.
Yeah.
So it's not something that foreign. And sometimes their
Mm-hmm.
parents never find out about it, and sometimes their parents do. But
Mm-hmm.
for those who think that the girls wanted it, some of these girls, none of the girls, including myself, wanted it.
Right.
Some of us were just so groomed and manipulated, and just that was the expectation at the time. We didn't
Right.
have anyone to protect us. So yes, we allowed certain things to happen to
Exactly.
us
Like you
until you
want
know
the
better.
validation. Exactly. You want the validation. You want that affirmation. You want to
Yes.
feel like you're doing something where someone will say, I see you and you're being good, or you're a good girl, or
Especially
you're
when
doing
no one saw you before. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And so,
Exactly. So there's an aspect of something
right.
you want that you should have, but the person is using that and in order to have you express that in a way that's wrong, and they wrong you in that way. So I thank you so much for making that so clear and for saying that, because I think that that's what is lost. And I know people have these conversations, but I think that's what's lost sometimes when we see people who have experienced abuse, young and old, that there may be an aspect of what we're all wanting in life, but until you walk in somebody's shoes who's never had that, and until you see the full story as to why you might have wanted that so badly, that you would,
But it was like a
yeah,
group. So
yep,
he was like molesting the whole group. But once I got out of that situation, I was able to look at it and say, oh my goodness, this is what
yeah.
this person was doing. He was taking advantage of our innocence, of our youth. And that's when I again called my sister.
I know that's right. Listen, and you know what? I want to say a round of applause, because you know what? There's a dynamic here where
Yeah.
you should have been protected, but yet there was this other woman, and I
Yes.
don't want to lose that, because I think
I
that
give
with
honor to
every,
her.
oh my gosh,
I give honor to
as
her.
much as we can say this is what's going on wrong in my life, I love that in one story you're showing both sides.
My sister, like I from Haiti, like, we went
Yeah,
through the same trials and tribulations, and she went through a lot of stuff in New York, being, physically, anyway,
yeah.
that's her story. But anyway, so I called her, and I was telling her, hey, this is what was this. Now it had stopped for me, but I knew that it was still going on with the other people in the church, the
Mm-hmm.
other girls in the church. So I called, I said, I just want to tell you my story. This is what happened, and this is what continues to happen. And she blew the whole lid. She
I
called
know that's right.
and she was young, like she was young. And
Wow.
but I told her this like a few years later, and she still like came down there. She called the state overseer, and he did the whole Jimmy Swaggart thing. He got down on his knee, forgive me, and thing.
Is
And
this man your sister? I want to give a pause and give her a round of applause.
yes,
I don't think
give her
enough
another. Yes,
women and men, but in this circumstance, women who fight young, like you said, her being young, sometimes we have to
yes,
step into a role to stand up for people before we should have to. But I love that she did that. That's the type of vibe after my own heart. That's like, you
yeah.
know what? You mess with my sister, we're gonna have problems, and blow the whole lid off. So I love that. Is this I'm gonna stop asking about this man because he's gonna make me upset. But is this I don't even want to call him a man. Is he still alive?
He's dead now. No,
Okay.
and guess what? Before he died, he had a bigger and stronger church. They gave him
Wow.
a whole parade when he
Oh,
died, like in the streets of New Jersey. Yeah, they gave
sorry,
him.
listeners. I went straight Haitian with the O.
Anyway,
No,
so
yeah,
that's that
it's
story.
that's such trauma, such pain.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for sharing that. And so now I had to ask those questions because, like you said, it makes so much sense to fast forward. Here's this guy that you meet, and you're looking for love, and you feeling him, and naturally, but as a result, you end up pregnant,
Yeah.
and you said something so powerful, how the adults in your life, people who saw you as a shining star, right? They
Hmm.
saw all the things, like you in their eyes, you saw what you
Yeah.
probably always wanted to see. And now there's disgust, now there's disappointment,
Yeah.
now there's you trying to salvage quote unquote salvage and do something as big as getting married, which a lot of people do, just to, in your
Well, I
words,
had no choice.
fine. Yeah.
I really had no choice.
Yeah.
I was getting like physically
Wow.
plummeted until I got married. So, we got married anyway. It was, and I think, there's like parallel lives being led. Like I always led like so many lives at once. So while this was happening there, something else was happening at school. So basically we got married, but I told her, I said, as soon as I can, I'm going to get a divorce.
Wow.
I said
So
that.
you already knew that.
Oh, I already knew that. I already, not because, he was a bad guy or anything, but it's just not what I wanted. But I did it, and because that's the way she went to. I love my mom, and I hope that, this doesn't make her upset, but she really wanted to save face for the Haitian church. That, her daughter was pregnant at the, I had Tiffany, my daughter, a month shy of my 18th birthday. So I had her on my arms at high school graduation, and of course I kept my word. Like as soon as I graduated high school with honors. So the medical thing, let's go back to the medical doctor thing. This is how we change plans, right? The
Yes,
plans.
which go ahead. I'm trying to tell you, you all up in it. So my question was going to be, listeners, listen, Dr. Joe, she does it all. As she says, her life is going parallel. So she is the interviewee and the interviewer, and I love it because you are making all the connections. So yes, my question was going to be from there, like, yes, how do you fall upon deciding to be a nurse when the goal or the dream was a doctor or a lawyer, which I have shared on here too, because Haitian people think that the only way you're successful in life is if you're a doctor or a lawyer. They used to, they kind of still do, but that's what they used to think. But go ahead. Yeah.
Can I tell you that my life is all about adaptability?
Yes.
Okay? And so when as a junior, when I was pregnant, I still maintained the top of my class. Like I was still the top 1%. However,
Wow.
I knew that there was no way that I was going to be able to go to New York to go to do this pre-med and, eventually go to medical school now that I was a teenage mother. So there was a lady that came from Rutgers to speak to us at the high school about a nursing program, an honors nursing program. So I was like, I will do that. And straight from graduating high school that summer, started in the honors nursing program, graduated 3.5 years later with my bachelor's of science. And my baby was the best baby in the world. So I had to work like 2 full-time jobs, go to school full-time with this beautiful baby, and sometimes had her in the back of the lecture hall because I had nowhere to leave her. And she would just sit there quietly as a little 2-year-old, as a little.
That only happened because she was see, that's where the first children, they say, fool you, because the first child will sit in the back of a lecture hall quiet. But then you said, I'm gonna have another one.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen.
And then child number 2 is like,
nope, it ain't gonna happen.
Right.
Yes,
wow.
But she was
Dr.
the best
Joe.
baby. So
wow.
God always finds a way. And because even through everything that happens, I felt like I remained faithful to him. I know that sometimes, people will think of the story and like some people will say, okay, well, as a 13 or 14-year-old, like she knew that this was wrong and da da da. But it's like God knew what was going on at the time. Like he knew that we were just being used and abused. And so he found a way for me. Okay. And I was able to complete this program. I don't know how I did it. I completed that honors program with a cumulative average of 3.95, honey. I'm very proud to say. So then I started working in a at a hospital in New Jersey, and decided New Jersey wasn't doing it for me. And during this whole college thing, I got my divorce. I went to Seton Hall University and spoke to some law student friends of mine, and I'm like, do you all want a project? And they were like,
so wait, Dr. Joe, so the whole time, were you just telling the man, like, was it like you would wake up, say, good morning, honey, by the way, there's a
No.
there's a
Actually,
divorce coming your way. Okay, don't forget
listen,
it.
he he he's such a nice guy, and
You just
I
knew.
still love him to death. Oh my God, I still really love him. We just were with one another at my granddaughter's birthday party.
Yes, I saw
Just
the
one of the
pictures.
best people in
Oh,
the world. But um he knew the deal.
clearly he knew that you was ready to drop him at us. She said, once I see the green light, you
He
get in
knew
the
the deal.
scissors.
But well, he actually he wanted to go back to college anyway. So he actually left New Jersey and went to college, and we tried to make a run at it. We were
Right.
just such good friends,
So,
so it
oh,
never just never really worked out. Anyway, that's my life. It's but the
okay.
Seton Hall law student, shout out to you. I'll never
Yes,
forget what you did for
for working out my
me.
divorce.
For
For
working
working
out
out the divorce. Okay,
that
we
was their
appreciate.
senior thesis.
Was
Was
that
for me.
was that a plug? Listen, whoever that law school needs to hire you for an ad. Like, listen, when I needed a
Seriously.
divorce,
When I needed a divorce,
they
they came
mapped it up
through.
at the lunch table. Okay,
Yes,
these people are
yes.
multi-talented. The students, they did a good job. Okay,
They
all right,
really
listen,
did.
I'm not, you crack me up, even though you're the only person that's gonna have me crying, shaking, and then literally dropping jokes 5 seconds later. So I have to ask this question because and then we're going to transition. I promise. Last question I'm asking this. How do you manage the feelings that you may have or have towards your mom after all these years?
Amazingly, I love my mom from head to toe because she only did what she knew how to do, what she knew what
Tell
to
us
do.
what you mean
Okay.
by that.
So she herself had such a horrendous life. Okay. And she did the best. Like this woman literally like traveled to a foreign country without knowing anyone, working as a maid for 24 hours a day. She just worked herself and made sure that we had all that we ever needed. So there, like I said, there's never just one thing. And so when
Yeah.
people, try to down, like you can have a parent that's an alcoholic, but yet they were working, 10 hours a day just to put food. You got to think about the food that they put on your plate too, and so I tend to just think about all the goodness of my mom, and
Yeah.
even talking to her, like she's 82 now, and we had this, and she's like, sorry, Joe, I didn't know, and I forgive her. I forgave
Sorry,
her,
I don't want to. You giggled a little bit, and this is so. This is the most serious, serious moment. Not sorry, Joe. I didn't know. Not dropping bars. You're not gonna drop bars on me. And
Oh
the
my
most
God.
traumatic.
Sorry, Joe. I didn't know. But
I can't
anyway.
stand their toxicity. I can't. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to move this.
Oh my
You
goodness.
clearly gonna have to come back for a 2.0 because I know the people are like their mind, the jaws are dropped. And so what I am gonna say though, I hear you saying like this went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong, but these are the things that I still have to be grateful for and what I see to be thankful for in my life. And I think that is powerful, Dr. Joe.
My mom
Not so
introduced
many
me to
people can
God.
live that out. Yeah.
See, what people don't understand is the fact that my mom introduced me to God. My mom showed me how to pray. My mom basically, even though I was going through all that I was going through, but there was always this hope, like that I can lean on this creator. And everything that happened in my life was a way to get me right where I am today.
Mhm.
Okay. And so people may not understand it. They may not get it. The fact that I didn't go to medical school, I became the best doggone nurse. Then I became a nurse
Listen.
practitioner, then a doctor of nursing practice. I was able to build my foundation. My children, not my daughter, who I had at the age of 17, almost 18, is now going to school to become a nurse practitioner and getting her doctorate. Like,
Wow.
people can focus on the negativity. Those things happened to me. Yes, they did. I was a child. I was taken advantage of. I was abused. I was molested. Everything. Okay. And that's
Mm.
real. Okay. That's very real. But as an adult, being able to just, the best thing that they could have taught you, Kim, in nursing school was holistic nursing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I take that holistic nursing, just looking at the whole person and just looking at all aspects, putting that person is in the center of the care that you provide. So I put myself in the center of everything. Okay. And I don't focus on what is the matter with me. I focus on what matters to me.
Mm.
Okay. And so what matters to me, and we have that at the where I work now with Whole Health. And what matters to me are my children, my grandchildren, my husband, my friends, my family, my foundation, the children that I help in Haiti. Those are the things that I focus on. And if there's any way that I can help anyone that's in this kind of situation, being molested, being abused, just everything as a teenage mother, going through hard times and hardships, because it's not everything that you can capture in an hour podcast, but
Yeah.
there are certain things that are definitely real that I wanted to get out there, that yes, Joanne Lewis, this person that some people look at, I heard somebody talking about me the other day, and I was like, okay, Joe, you came a long way. And
Yes, you
so
have.
I want you to know you can come a long way. You can't just stay in your pain and just keep focusing on this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. Okay, well, find a way out. Okay,
Powerful.
talk to someone, reach out. There is another side to all of this. You have to be adaptable. You have to change your circumstance. You have to take control, because I gave people my control when I was a
Control.
kid.
Woo!
Okay.
Oh
I
my God.
gave people that control. No one can take that control. Right now, can no one say that, and pardon me, because I have a very wonderful partner next by my side right now, but no one in their lives can ever say that they bought me a home. No one can ever say that they bought me a car. No one can ever say that, right now my partner is driving me around because we didn't even have time to talk about the seizures. A person who always needs to be in
Mm.
control right now has an illness that makes them lose control.
Yeah.
And I think that's God too allowing that, because I was like, after all of that happened, I gripped onto that control, and I'm like, no one will ever do that to me or my children ever again.
Wow.
And I was in so much control that at some point I had to lose that control. And that's with that illness right here. But you can't live in all of this. Like, there's goodness in everyone. And my mother did the best that she could with the knowledge that she had. And she was the best mother that she knew how to be.
Wow.
And I thank God for her for bringing us up here, because I'm not in the chaos right now that's in Haiti.
Yeah.
All I can do is help in Haiti right now.
Wow. What a way to put that all into perspective. Hey guys, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Some people walk so we can run. I am truly just appreciative and grateful for those who decide to be transparent on this platform in order to lend a voice to others, but also to lend them strength and strategy. As I said, we will be coming back with a part 2 just to talk more about her legacy. So listen, if you don't want to miss it, make sure you have your notifications on. Make sure you're subscribed to our podcast. And if you haven't heard, we are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. But listen, We All Go For It is also on YouTube now. So go on over, look up our channel, and subscribe. Lastly, you already know this message, but I'm going to say it anyway. As we move in the right direction, that is forward and progressing, never stagnant, we become a resource for others to do the same, but only if we move. Remember, if you go and I go, then we all go forward. Let's get moving.